Hello everyone and welcome back to season 2 of the PGN Podcast. This podcast has one simple message: to normalise the conversation on resilience, our environment and our future in a climate changed world, with our communities at the heart of it all. Our primary goal is to foster discussions about flooding, climate resilience and related environmental issues to better support communities. We're here to take a deeper dive into the conversations we began in season 1. We will be connecting hearts and minds, ambition, passion alongside our community and experts. Together we'll work towards building a more resilient future in our ever-changing world. I am Meshi Taka, the project lead for Project Groundwater Northumbria, which is what PGN stands for, and your host for this season. Let's jump right in. Today we'll be talking sustainable homes, an idea that can mean different things to different people. We're welcoming the girls from North Durham Academy who recently built a prototype of a very special type of house. Ladies, welcome to the PGN Podcast. Hello, Jade.
Hi.
Welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Hi, my name is Jade and I'm 13 years old and I'm in year 9 at North Durham Academy.
What's your biggest passion in life, Jade?
Like music and singing.
Cool. Hi, Evie.
Hi.
Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Hi, I'm Evie and I'm 14 on Monday.
Oh, cool. Happy birthday for Monday.
Thank you.
And what's your passion in life?
Coaching gymnastics.
Coaching and gymnastics. Well, we'll talk about that in a bit. Next up, we have Tilly. Hi, Tilly.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Tilly, I'm 13 years old and I'm year 9 at North Durham Academy.
And what's your passion in life, Tilly?
I like to read.
Oh, reading. I love to read as well. I used to be obsessed with just reading anything I can get my hands on, but we'll cover that in a second. And last but not the least, hi, Elma.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Would you
Hi.
like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Elma. I'm 13 years old and I'm in year 9 at North Durham Academy. And I'm most passionate about making the world a better place.
Well, so those are a group of girls. You all have very different passions, so we're really interested to see how those different passions contributed to the project that we're about to talk about. Your sustainable house, which I was privileged to see at this year's Innovation Festival. You had it on display and you came to our stand and you were telling us how excited you were to have been able to pull it together. I'll start with you, Elma. What was it about the house? What was the inspiration for that house?
When we went to visit Robertson Homes, we loved the way that they built their houses. So we said that we're going to use it for our prototype.
So we'll be including an insert of the sustainable house for our viewers so you get an idea of what this fantastic prototype looks like. Why were you so interested in building that type of house, Tilly?
That's the kind of house that Robertson Homes builds and we're partnered in the business competition with Robertson Homes.
And one of the things we noticed about the houses, I think you guys mentioned about the need to provide access to technology, for example, that's quite expensive. So you wanted something that was affordable. Jade, do you want to describe to our viewers what's so special about the house you girls helped to design?
So like it's got like this tiny little generator which goes in your drain and it like gets your rainwater and transfers it into electricity.
And so what you're trying to do is basically capture your natural resources, so rainwater, grainwater, and then using it to kind of power a generator. Is that how it works, Evie?
It powers electricity throughout the house, so it, like your boiler, your lights and everything like that.
And essentially in doing that, you make power more accessible because then it's less expensive because you're using your own rainwater to basically generate your own electricity. How was that process for you, being able to sit down and come up with an idea, and how did all your passions feed into that creative process? Tilly?
Well, we were given, at the very first event we went to for FBM, we were given 3 criteria that we could meet for it. One of them was food waste, one of them was water, and I can't remember the other one.
Okay.
But we wanted to do all 3 and we came up with a few initial ideas, but then we couldn't decide on any of them. And then we went and we visited Robertson Homes, and then Jade came up with the idea to put this little circular thing in the drains to spin around really, really quickly, and then it generates the electricity for your home.
Jade, what was it in that moment that gave you that idea?
Well, when we're looking down like the drain, I realised how much water goes through and it just goes to waste. And electricity is like quite expensive now, so it just like helps save money.
And so from that little spot, like you kind of build a whole prototype. And Elma, just thinking about when you ladies decided on pursuing the kind of more affordable energy, how did the plan come together to then get it sorted?
We had to like patent our idea, and like we had to like get help from other people to give us more ideas on how we could develop our prototype into something more.
Do you have like a name of the house, or it's just a sustainable house?
We have a catchphrase.
What's the catchphrase?
Go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
Glow with the flow.
Glow with the flow. Yeah. Okay.
I think we should call it Betty.
I don't know if now's the time to christen the house on the phone, because you might change your mind.
Yeah.
But glow with the flow.
That's like our thing, and then our name for the generator was Hydroflow.
Oh, cool. And how did it feel though, like leading your own project? I mean, it's a big thing. I saw the house and it looked really remarkable. So how did it feel, like reaching out to people and saying we'd like to support? This is a really brand new idea that we really believe in. How do you convince people to kind of support you? I'm looking at you, Evie, because you're like, I love coaching. So tell me how your coaching superpower came into that conversation, into that scenario.
Well, like I like helping people and like talking to people. And when I'm coaching, like I coach the little kids, and I always like talk to them, because a lot of them don't really understand, and you gotta like help them.
Well, my son is 6, and he is super obsessed about the environment. So he's like, if he walks past plastic, he was like, oh, Mom, plastic. And he would have loved your house, because he just loves to see something that's really different. Jade, you talked about wastage as well, like all that water just falls off the roof and that's it. And you were able to tap into that and create something that actually is a big issue. Like you said, electricity, like paying bills, is a big concern for many households. And actually, if we can do something like this, it could make a real difference. In addition to the fact that it's about the environment as well, it's helping the environment by reusing a natural resource. And I remember when I saw you at the festival, I asked about, have you thought about scaling it up? And you were like, oh, it's only for competition. But have you thought about it? Did it cross your mind that what you come up with could actually be something that engineers in workplaces could take and build something big out of it?
Yeah.
Did you? And if you could though, if I could set up a meeting with like a major engineering consultancy, and you had to walk in there and sell your idea to them and go, this is the future, what would you say?
I think we'd be pretty confident, because me and Tilly did Girls Get Set, and we've gone to like a engineering company, Baker Hughes, and we've seen all their innovative ideas, and that's what really like helped us when we were doing FBM. So we think that if we were to further the idea, it would definitely work.
Just talking about, you said you did the STEM.
Yeah, Girls Get Set.
Tell us a bit more about that.
It was trying to make a more innovative way to like capture CO2, as there's too much in the atmosphere.
And what did you get out of that?
Like different innovative ways to make the world, like make the environment a bit better.
The CO2 thing is interesting, because in your house you basically are capturing rainwater, and the thing with water is we take it for granted because we don't really think about where our drinking water comes from, don't we? But really, if you think about it, if you look at the news at the moment and you look at the world, there's times in the year when there's too much water, and there's times in the world when there's not enough water. So your project being able to recognize that the rain that's coming off the roof, or I think you also mentioned that it could also take grey water as well, that could almost create a resource for something that's also in high demand but very expensive. It's really refreshing to see. But like you said, there's too much CO2 in the world. We keep talking about net zero and all these kind of things. Like how engaged are you when people talk about reducing the carbon footprint and things like that? Do you think, are they talking to me, or I don't know what they're talking about?
I feel like I could tell them my ideas as well.
Well, you're on the podcast, so go on then. Tell us. Because I would love to hear some of the ideas that you come up with when you hear people talking about some of the challenges. Like, what do you think we could do differently just to help us all get better solutions? Jade, what do you think?
Maybe just like stop leaving plastic and be like more thoughtful when you're like using all your electricity, because some people use a lot more than others, and like sometimes you can just cut it down.
So we're very wasteful as a society.
Yeah.
Evie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think people should stop leaving the lights on. Like in my house, my mum and brother always leave on all the lights, and it just wastes a lot more electricity, and the bill makes it a lot higher.
It's true. So there's things that we can do, like before you start looking at new solutions, just look at what you have and use it a bit more smarter and just be a bit more self-conscious. What do you think, Tilly? Anything to add?
I think we should stop using like just as much electricity as we do, because sometimes my dad comes in from work, he turns on the lights in the kitchen when you can still see just from the natural light, and then my brother sits upstairs with his computer still plugged in to the wall just all day. Like, you could easily unplug it.
So that's a useful thing, though, because we think about like solutions and things, and actually step one is looking at how we live at the moment and going, what do I really need to have my lights on all the time, and do I need to switch just for convenience? Is the convenience worth it when we could just cut back a little bit? Because we're always looking for big ideas, but actually let's look at the smaller things. So that's a really good starting point. And I think if I was to say, oh, okay, I could do a campaign around that, what would that campaign look like? How do we get people to go, you know what, I'm going to do something? What would you say to that?
Probably like more on social media, because everyone's on it these days, and people wouldn't be like pressured or anything. They would just see it and they'd be persuaded just because they're scrolling through their phone.
Oh, it's a good start though. I think social media could play a part. But how could we get that sustained engagement? So we put something on social media and that's great, but that's great for like 5 minutes. How do we get our brothers and sisters, our parents to kind of go, oh, okay, we can also be part of the solution?
Show them how bad it could get if they don't start with the little things like putting the lights off.
Tilly?
I don't really know much about social media, but like I feel like instead of talking to the people who they already pay, like they already pay their bills and stuff, I feel like we should aim it more at the younger generation, because usually kids don't like when the parents have to spend a lot of money for no reason. And
well, that's a really good point, actually. So what you're saying is you could be our foot soldiers and you can go into all the homes and you can convince all the parents to change their behaviours. Is that what you're telling me, right?
No, I mean, like, if you tell like younger children, oh, your parents to spend a lot in bills, it might mean like, oh, you might not be able to get you like sweets for this month or something.
Or Christmas presents.
Oh yeah, okay. I get, yeah. So basically, if they made savings in one area, it could get you more value in another area.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good bargaining tool. I can see where this conversation could be very rewarding for our youngsters. Jade, what do you think?
I think like what Tilly's saying, like the younger generation or like 18-year-olds, because they'll be like buying a house, but they might not have like the best job they want. So when they like don't have as much money, they can make it cheaper for them.
That's good. I do think you are raising a really strong point that a lot of the times, I mean, the work I do, we talk about flood resilience and everything else, but a lot of the time we talk about things like nature-based solutions and sustainable drainage systems and how people can have rainwater gardens at home where it essentially captures rainwater and it helps, like, you have a lovely garden and lovely benefits. And we're almost talking to the homeowners and the parents, and actually having the youngsters and like yourselves who have all these ideas, having you on board and having you be part of that conversation could be just the missing key, really, because you could convince those really stubborn parents. I'm just as bad, I'm very set in my ways. But you could be part of that messaging, which is we need to do this because it actually helps us in the future as well. Evie, because you're the one who loves coaching though. So if you were to coach, you coach youngsters, if you had to coach your parents, if you're trying to get them on board about how we need to all do this together, what would be your approach?
My mum's very stubborn. So
Okay, well, like I said, well, guilty. I'm just as stubborn, so it's not just your mom. But yeah, if you had to bring them on side, how would you get them there?
I'd probably like show her the solution and show her how much better the solution is rather than the way she's doing it now.
So we have the house. I saw the house at the Innovation Festival. Are you happy with how it turned out?
Yeah.
If you could do something different to that house, what would you do?
I feel like we'd probably do something smaller because we didn't overall win the competition, even though we did win 2 prizes for it. But the person that won, they had like a really, really small thing, and we put a lot of effort into it, and it felt like it was just like done for nothing. So I feel like if I could do something different, I'd try and push like the entire team into doing something smaller so we wouldn't be as disappointed.
Okay. What do you think, Elma?
One thing I'd change about the house would be maybe more like stuff inside it to show like what else could happen, not only the lights. Maybe the TV could be powered by the electricity or like the radio or something.
Oh yeah, so kind of show how it could basically be more integrated with how we live on a daily basis. Jade, what about you?
I don't really know what I would change because it worked like really well and everyone liked it, but it was quite big. It was hard to take to all the challenges, and it was just really big to like fit everywhere.
Okay, so like being able to kind of do a road show or take it around and travel with is a bit challenging. What do you think, Evie?
Well, everyone else at the competition was able to show their like development working, but we couldn't because we had to pour water and then the lights in the house would turn on. But we had to like have a tap nearby, and there was no taps where we were, so we couldn't like properly show it.
So it was limited in how you can basically prove that it works.
Yeah.
I will say though, Tilly, that I know it probably wasn't the best outcome because you didn't win, but I saw your house at the Innovation Festival, and I think sometimes you win when you're not expecting from the different audience, which is where I was talking to you girls about the fact that although it was for a business competition, we work in flooding and we were looking at things like sustainable energy and things like that. And I just thought it was remarkable. And yes, you didn't win that particular competition, but look at what the house has done since, and look at the places the house has been to since. And I think it has definitely giving more than you initially anticipated, and it's worth recognizing that it was valuable because of what it's done already. So don't beat yourself up about not winning, because we don't always win all the time, but we can still bring that value. We can bring something new, and you looked at it and you came up with something completely new. And one of the challenges we have sometimes when you put something new into a space is that if it's too out there, sometimes people are like, oh, right, I'm not quite sure where we're going with this. But you almost need to build that momentum. Like you said, convince others about why it's important. And then the next time you bring the conversation up again, it'll be, oh, right, we know why this is important. We know why we need this. And yeah, I think it was definitely quite a great project for you to work on. So don't knock yourself. It's a lot more than just that competition. That's what I feel anyways. I'm a big fan of the house, so you definitely want some friends and some allies because of the house. Okay? But I like the point about when you build the model is recognizing that although the idea is a really strong one, there are potential opportunities there to look at how easily you can prove how the concept works. So being able to tap into resources or not rely on additional third factors to make it work, which is kind of what you're referring to there. But ultimately, I think showing that the house can do the house can do multiple things. So the concept of reusing the water to power a generator to feed electricity to the house, showing that it can power your TV, it can power your kettle in the kitchen, it can power your washing machine, or all the kind of appliances we're used to. Again, it's selling that bigger picture, because people are like, oh, right, I see that. I can just kind of buy this and put it in and it will fit with everything else I have going on, which is what people like to see, don't they? Because they don't want to have to think too hard about making changes. We've talked about changing how we live and everything else. And I asked you girls before about the future and about a future career based on this project that you've done. Is that something you'd be interested in? I know you, Elma, you're interested in STEM. So have you thought about a future career and what that could be like based on your passion at the moment?
Maybe like engineering.
Okay. And any particular type of engineering or just general engineering?
Like if you're building a house or something, you could say, oh, why don't we try to make this house renewable?
Exactly. I think we look at a lot of the houses now and you're thinking, why are we still building the same houses like we did before, when environment is changing so much and things are becoming harder to control. So the floods, I mean, you've seen the news with the really terrible floods and piles of cars just stacked up in streets and stuff. So that's really good. Well, let's talk after this podcast. I'll give you tips. Tilly, what about you?
I feel like I've only ever thought about working in STEM because since I was really little in primary school, I was really involved in it because my primary school was as well.
Okay.
Then coming to NDA, I did a lot of things in STEM, but I don't really know many jobs, but I would like to work as someone in STEM.
Okay. I mean, the STEM is such a massive, there's loads of different careers. I mean, there's obviously engineering, but we have, in flooding, for example, those are all STEM type careers, and you could be everything from a scientist. You could be somebody who does a lot of hydraulic modeling. You could be somebody who designs solutions for interventions, not just homes as well. If you think about Northumbrian Water, like they provide our water, but they also take away our waste. A lot of things you don't see. For example, if you think about all the pipe works that are below the ground, that's all STEM. It's all professionals that design and maintain those systems. If you think about the Kielder Reservoir, those are all massive engineering assets. If you think about treatment works and pumping stations, and that's just one element of what they do. It's much bigger than that. If you look at your local council, for example, your local council will have like the highways team. Think of all the roads, the bridges, those are all STEM type things. Flooding, we talk about like nature-based solutions and sustainable drainage systems. So sometimes you see like basins and they look great, don't they? They're like, you can, got like flower beds and things like that. But when it rains, those areas hold water. And the people that come up with the ideas behind that and design all those assets are also STEM. And then you have technology and systems. So it could be like digital systems. It could be scientific models. There's this massive diversity of different careers that I'm aware of, but that's because I'm an engineer, let alone what's available out there. So it's such a great thing. And I think if you start with your passion, then yeah, you'll be fine. You have plenty of opportunities. But I'm so glad again there's like a team STEM over here. I'm not like picking a side or anything. But I'm gonna come over to Jade. I know again both of you are like not really STEM, but actually through this experience and using the ideas that you were able to kind of build on, what do you look at when you look at a future career, Jade?
I mean, my career right now that I want to do doesn't involve STEM, but if that doesn't work out, it could change.
So what's the career you're thinking about at the moment?
Like a musician or a singer.
Well, again, I think one of the things we're trying to open up is, we'll say STEAM, not STEM. And that's because we recognize the science, the technology, the engineering, the maths. But we also recognize the element arts has to play in there. Because it's all around having those really drastic ideas. And because things are changing so quickly, and we talk about climate change and other things, we need people that have these very vibrant ideas to be part of the solution to creating some of these new ways of working and new ways of living. And there was this recent competition that we sponsored in London, the Ikigai, which is around celebrating the arts in STEAM. And it was like, it had poetry and music and art, like drawings. And that was all part of the competition, but it was in the IC, the Institution of Civil Engineers headquarters. It was hosted by an engineering organization, because those two sides and non-opposite sides are actually part of a bigger picture. So yeah, it's not just STEM, it's also the arts. So it's also brilliant to know that actually that creativity is what you look forward to building in the future, Jade. Evie? I know you're going to say coaching, but tell me more. Come on.
I want to be a primary school teacher.
Oh, that's brilliant. And is it because you want to be able to help kids?
Yeah.
But again, that's you've all talked about the fact that actually we need to engage more with the younger generation. So perhaps as a teacher, you can help us push that message and get some new minds into the profession.
Yeah.
So does anyone want to ask me a question? Because I've just spoken nonstop, and I think feel free to have a go. Go on.
What inspired you to be an engineer?
I cheated a little bit. My dad was an engineer. So my dad was a civil engineer, and I'm a bit like you. I love STEM. So from a very young age, I love maths, I love physics, I love anything. I love chemistry and biology. And I used to, one of my earliest memories is I used to kind of go, my dad had like an engineer's drawing table, and I used to kind of go in there and have a rifle through his stuff, and I used to pretend that I was drawing engineering buildings, and it just stuck. But I was always fascinated about building infrastructure and building solutions. And I think when you grow up in a space where the lack of infrastructure can leave a massive gap in society, and you talked about affordable electricity because of rising bills, if you're that kind of person that's very attuned to problem solving, you naturally gravitate towards engineering type professions. So, and I just followed it through school, and before you know it, there we are, civil engineer. So yes. What about you, Tilly? Any questions for me?
Not really.
Oh, wow. Jade?
How long have you been an engineer for?
Or show my age, over 20 years. So yes, been 20 years in this industry. It feels like I only started like yesterday. It doesn't feel like it's been 2 decades, but a lot has changed. I will say that when I first went to university, there were a handful of us in class. When I first went to the workplace, there was only a handful of us in the workplace, and the offices I work in now have changed so much. There's a lot more girls, there's more women, different types of people, different cultures, different points of views, different skills as well. So even the idea of what an engineer was back in the day when I started and what an engineer is now is completely miles apart. And that's only a good thing, like I said, because we're bringing different types of voices, different types of views. I think that one of the great things about this profession is the ability to bring those different ideas together and come up with something that truly helps our communities and hopefully protects us for the future. So yes. Evie?
What's your favourite part about being an engineer?
Oh, I'm a pivot type of person. So I say this all the time. I do my best work in chaos. I think when things look really scary, that's when I get really excited, because my brain's just 20 ideas a second. But it's always the impossible. So I'm likely to be the person who will be like, how can you push that a bit further? How can you just break the ceiling? I'm always trying to break the ceiling. What that means is we're always trying to kind of push the status quo and try different ideas. And I love that about the industry. And I think especially now with climate change, high levels of pollution and everything else, and plastics and all these different challenges that are just hitting the world at the same time, I think it's the right time for me to be in the industry, because it's how it just makes it worth doing what I do. So yes. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, well, thank you girls for joining us today. I've had a great time. And we're gonna see if you have any more questions. Come at me after the recording. But for now, thank you for joining us. It's a bye from me, and
I'm Jade and bye.
I'm Evie, bye.
I'm Tilly, bye.
I'm Elma, bye.
And to our listeners today, thank you for joining the PGN podcast. For notes about what we've discussed today, please check out the notes in this episode, which is available on Spotify and YouTube. Thank you all for listening today. Project Groundwater, aka PGN, is a research and innovation project funded by DEFRA as part of the 200 million Flood and Coastal Innovation Programs managed by the Environment Agency. The programs will drive innovation in flood and coastal resilience and adaptation to a changing climate. This project is led by Gateshead Council with regional and national partners. PGN aims to enhance community resilience by developing and creating, mapping, forecasting and warning systems with a focus on groundwater flood risk, particularly in former mining areas within the region, but also on a national scale. With this funding, we're working on practical, innovative actions and knowledge sharing with our communities at the heart of it all. For more information on PGN, please visit www.pgn.org.uk.